Hello, so today you join me in the library to discuss a book which I've been reading recently, specifically this book, American Gods. I've read it before, but I've just reread it specifically for the purposes of making this video, and I love it so much. How I came across this book is my dad and I have a history of sharing books and sort of exchanging books and recommending books to each other, and I lent him Good Omens, the Terry Pratchett and Neil Gaiman collaboration, and in response he went out and bought this, and when I went home over Christmas was like, read this book, it's such a good book, and I was like, okay. So I did, and I really liked it and really wanted to review it, and then I sat down and did a reread so that I could give more specific information because it's such a good book. So the basic story is about gods, obviously, but gods from all sorts of mythologies, Norse, Egyptian, anything you can think of that has a god, they show up in some shape or form in this book, and it's amazing. And it's about sort of this guy, Shadow, and he becomes involved with gods and how all of the different gods interact and all of this stuff that's going on, and how the traditional gods are fighting the new gods of technology and roads, and it's so good. I can't even describe how good it is, but as well as that, it's sort of multi-layered. Like, where the first time I read this through, I couldn't sleep properly. I was getting weird dreams, and then I'd sort of try and go to bed and I couldn't, so I'd just pick the book up again and continue reading it. It is a book I would describe as unputdownable, and very few books I would describe this way. And it has humour as well. There are funny parts, 2 seconds while I find them in the book, but two of my favourite lines are, "He left the cockroach where it was out of respect for the dead," and "Sure as eggs is eggs, as the turkey farmer said when he hatched his first turtle." Those lines sort of encapsulate the dark humour of this book for me. It's not laugh out loud funny, but it does make you think, and there are moments where you're just like, oh my god, that's so funny and so well thought out. I recommend this book highly. I really do. If you have any sort of interest in mythologies, this is a really great book. If you're after something that's sort of like a critical look at America, this is a really great book. If you're after something that has a supernatural love story aspect to it, this book basically has everything, is what I'm saying. And I can't wait until I get access to some of Neil Gaiman's other works, because on the back of this book, my dad asked for Neil Gaiman books for Christmas, and I bought him Neverwhere, A Nasty Boys, and The Ocean at the End of the Lane, all of which because I wanted to steal them back off of him and read them myself, because that's how it works with us and books. I'm too enthused about this book to talk about it properly. Also, the first time I was reading this version has a novella at the end where the main character, Shadow, it takes place after the main events of the book, and he's travelling around Europe, and it's like a sort of postscript about what's going on in his life, and I didn't notice it the first time I read the book because there's a whole bunch of stuff at the end, like how to discuss it in a book club or interviews with the author Neil Gaiman, and so I just didn't come across it until today when I was finishing reading it for this video, and even that's really good. And there's so much I want to talk about, but I can't because I don't want to spoil the book. If you like gods in any way, shape or form, it's sort of theoretically or whatever, read this book. But also I recommend reading it twice, once for the storyline and a second time to pick up on all the clever little details that you did not notice the first time round, but will do when you reread it with knowledge of how the story plays out, because that is the sort of complex, multi-layered book that this is, and I cannot praise it highly enough. And just read it, please. I can't say anything else. Just read it, please, because it's really good, and I need to start filming now and go to university. Goodbye!